Tell us about your early years.
I studied 4 years accounting and finance, came back to Kuwait. I was an auditor with Deloitte. And it's there where I found I can't work for someone else. I need to work for myself. 6-7 hours a day, just YouTubing how to cook recipes. And then I'd finish work, go to the grocery store, buy food, go home and make dinner. And that's when I decided, how can I bridge the two? My passion of food and cooking.
Tell me a little bit about what's your business today.
I was going to open an Arabic taqueria.
Really?
Yeah. So if I came to you and I told you, Ashish, let's open a restaurant, you'll look at me and be like, who are you? That's when I realized I have to build a name for myself to get someone to come invest with me.
How much you hate QR code menu?
A computer or a machine or a QR code or a robot or whatever it is cannot upsell.
Honestly, tech companies like us will say, yes, we can.
You go to Doha, you go to Saudi, you see entire restaurants empty. In Kuwait, the market is very tough, but it's still, I think, one of the highest performing markets in the Middle East.
What has changed in you as a person? Because,
Before I left Miami, my chef said, do you have any words of advice? Do you have anything you need to, what can you share? He said, lose your ego. And that stuck with me from day one till now.
When you say that it's not financially rewarding, then what's the point? Hi, welcome to Restrocast. Today, my guest on the pod is Chef Khaled Al-Bakir. He's a partner at Ventry Group. This conversation is one of a kind. It is about a finance professional who quit not only to become a restaurateur, but became a chef to become a restaurateur. To become a chef, joined culinary school in the US, and then came back to Kuwait to start a successful restaurant business. In this conversation, you will see why Khaled is and should be called Chef Khaled more than Restaurateur Khaled, because his attention to detail, things that he notices, things that he loves, and will tell you why his restaurants are successful, why he is doing what he's doing. And it's really inspirational for anybody who's willing to start in the restaurant business, but really wants to do it the rightmost way. Do watch. Welcome to Restrocast. So, Khaled, welcome to Restrocast.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
I always tell people that people don't get into restaurant industry, knowingly or by choice. Generally, they do everything else in the world and somehow fall into it. And the kind of insanity that restaurants bring to somebody, I think you have to be really, really insane to stick to it. I know that that you were also not restaurant trained. Yes. Tell us about your early years.
No, my background was in accounting and finance. I studied 4 years accounting and finance, came back to Kuwait. I was an auditor with Deloitte for a few years, and then I switched to Kuwait, petrochemicals. Mm-hmm. And it's there where I found I can't work for someone else. I need to work for myself. And that's how I started this whole entrepreneurial look. I want to work for myself. I cannot be a salaried clock in, clock out employee.
Why?
I cannot perform if it's for somebody else.
But you did that long enough.
I know, but it was this. I can't put in the time and then you get all the rewards, and I'm just a salaried employee, but I'm doing all the work. It just didn't click. So I had to, if I work from, even if you're a barber, you cut hair, you get the money. You work for what you're doing. You get paid, rewarded for what you're doing. So I needed something where it's my work and I get the reward. And in Kuwait, it's either a hair salon or a gym or a application. If you start something, but you have to start something. I took the food route. I was good in food in terms of I loved food. I love to eat. You can see. This is how it started. I would travel around the world looking for restaurants, chasing Michelin star chefs, the best restaurants in the world, and just go. And my trips and vacation was very food focused. And
but you never cooked?
Never cooked anything. I hated the kitchen, didn't come near the kitchen. I was a disaster in the kitchen. 4 years in uni by myself, I think I cooked maybe 5 times. Spaghetti, eggs, that's the max I can do.
I can relate.
So I never really had any interest in this business. from the get-go. But then I started with time, like I said, I started to eat. I was a foodie. And then slowly I started to transition into the kitchen. There was a company opened here called Prime Cuts in Kuwait. And they
Prime
were
Cuts.
Prime Cuts. And they were the first, let's say, gourmet butchery. The first to introduce chill Australian meat, Wagyu beef. You know, we didn't have Wagyu beef in Kuwait before. This was 2012.
2012.
Yeah. And a cousin of mine was the manager at the time. So while setting up the business, he started to import, kgs and kgs and kgs of beef, tons of beef. So every night, we hit the whole, we'll watch the game, grill, some steaks, some burgers, and slowly we were grilling 4 or 5 nights a week. So I started to like cooking. This is when it grew on me. I'm like, okay, this is fun. The whole grilling, we'll go a cigar, watch the game. That slowly I transitioned into the kitchen. Let's make some new sides. Let's make some appetizers. Let's make some salads. Before you knew it, I was in New York 6-7 hours a day, just YouTubing how to cook recipes. And then I'd finish work, go to the grocery store, buy food, go home and make dinner. Started to invite friends over for dinner. I'd start hosting dinner parties. I got pretty good at cooking. I was a average or home cook. And that's when I decided, how can I bridge the two? My passion of food and cooking. And
this is while you were still in
this
finance.
I was working full-time in finance. How can I bridge the two to work for myself? I said, you know what? The restaurant business. I quit my job, took my last paycheck, took my indemnity, took everything, and moved to Miami. I went to culinary school in Johnson & Wales University. And I studied culinary arts there. And I spent, that was the beginning of my career, 2012. And I studied in Miami. I was there for 2 years. I worked there for a year. Then I moved back to Kuwait around 2015.
How was that? That is so cool. So how was going back to the school and that to, a culinary school? What was shocking? What was interesting?
So this school I had actually visited in 2003 when I went to university the first time. I wanted to take cooking classes. So I saw that they had cooking courses. So I went to take cooking courses so I can learn to cook for myself. And I wanted to sign up. They said, sure, you can, here's the application, you pay application fees. It's a year-long course. And we'll give you the I-20 for your visa. And I'm like, no, I don't need the visa. I'm just here for a cooking class. He said, no, this is a culinary school. And tuition is $50,000. I said, huh? I was 18 at the time. I'm not going to ask my father, can I have $50,000 to go to culinary school? Fast forward 10 years, I went back to the same school and I paid for the culinary school. So it was a very nice experience. I got to spend, I spent 2 years in Miami and I learned a lot. It's culinary school is an important, this is an experience-based business. Culinary school, it teaches you a lot in a fast time. Versus if you were just to go in the kitchen and learn the hard way. Most people can't, they think culinary school is a luxury. And I tell a lot of people this here, colleagues of mine that are new in the business, that want to become a chef or they're amateur cooks. So look, you don't need to go to culinary school. You need to get your butt in the kitchen and work 10 hours a day, and eventually you'll get there. It's an experience-based business. So that was my journey. That's how I ended up in Miami.
Awesome. Tell me a little bit about what's your business today. What are you doing today?
So I'm a co-founder of a group called Ventry Group, and we own and operate several F&B outlets in Kuwait. So we have Young Po, which is Asian. From Young Po, we did a spin-off brand called Dragon Bun, which is a burger restaurant, a Japanese burger restaurant. And then we have Roto, which is like wood-fired rotisserie. We have Middle Eastern, Mehni, rotisserie chicken, kebab, shish tawuk. We have Little Ruby's, which is an American bistro. And we have 4 outlets of those. It's burgers, pizza, pasta, just American family
Regular
fare.
American fare.
And then I have Magma, an Italian restaurant. And I have Little Deli, like a gatherings and a catering kind of restaurant. So we own and operate the group.
Got it. How many locations in total?
We have total, I think, around 11 kitchens. Let's say 6 dine-in, and then the rest are cloud kitchens.
Okay, the same brands are also delivering.
I have different cloud kitchens depending on the brand. Some are delivery based, some are dine-in based.
And how long this has been?
Since 2018. Well, Ruby's actually 15 years, but I joined later. So they opened Ruby's in 2010. I joined in 2018. And, it's been now 6 years together.
We'll go back to, your story on culinary school. So, Miami, you came back, I'm assuming, in 2014?
2015.
Or 2015.
Yeah.
So, did you work in Miami?
I worked for a year. Yeah, I worked in South Beach. There was a chef called Danny Grant. He was a Michelin star chef from Chicago. And he opened a restaurant in Miami called 1826. And I worked there for the year. I did my stage there, like an internship. And I asked to continue, can I stay on and work here? Because I really liked the place. And then after that, I moved back to Kuwait. So this was where I didn't plan on coming back to Kuwait. I wanted to stay in the US, make my career there. But that's when I realized I'm a, small fish, big pond. Versus if I come back to Kuwait. This industry is very difficult in the US. You're working 15 hours, 16-hour days for $10, $11 an hour. And to really make it, you have to really grind for, 10 years to become an executive chef and maybe one day raise the money to open your own place. It's a very difficult business in the US. I had no connections, no family, no name, Versus in Kuwait, I already had my circle. I had my people. And my family was here, and so I knew it would be easier, let's say, for me to find investors and to make a name for myself in Kuwait versus the US. And this is where I made the decision to move back home.
Miami, 3 years in Miami, back to Kuwait is like two different worlds.
Yeah, but I grew up here, so I wasn't. I used to come home a lot. Once, twice a year, I would come home. So I was always used to it. Kuwait was always home. I lived my whole life here.
You worked for a Michelin star chef as earliest part of the career. What separates restaurants which are great versus restaurants who get a Michelin star? What's that thin line?
Attention to detail. Just all the details.
Give me an example.
Presentation, speed, time, service, and decor. I mean, now if we're gonna get into Michelin, that's a different ballgame. But I'm talking about in terms of the chef and your regular cook in a regular diner. It's the attention to detail. I can make a dish, put some potatoes and a steak, and serve it out. But then with the chef, attention to detail, they'll come, you'll have it perfectly portioned, perfectly sliced. Each slice is the exact same slice, arranged in a plate with a sauce that's been cooking for 22 days to prepare one sauce. And, so these kind of details. I mean, a steak is a steak, but if you look at the Michelin star restaurant, and if you go to Applebee's and get a steak, they're both steaks, but the details are what makes the chef. And that's when I picked up a lot of things. And the way they work, how meticulous they are. Like Michelin star chefs and restaurants are like surgeons. The way they're 12 hours on their feet, they work with similar tools, the tweezers and everything. And it's just very intricate, very delicate work for that 12-hour shift. So it's the details, attention to detail.
And what part of that you imbibed, in your current work? How did you bring?
It's a blend. I'm not after a Michelin star. I'm not after that fine dining scene. It's not me, and it's not something I like to do. I like to eat it. I like to enjoy it, but I like more a casual place because that's me. Like when I take the family out, we want to go out for a meal. We don't want to go to fine dining or Michelin star. We want to go enjoy good food, because not all these Michelin restaurants have good food. It's like, for me, it's like theater. I like to go spend 3 hours in a restaurant.
Correct.
And have 2 or 3 Michelin star restaurants, and I have a 15-course meal. But drive my wife crazy. And she says, the food, every bite's this big. I leave, I have to go eat McDonald's after because I'm still hungry.
How many times has that happened to you?
It's happened. But it's not about that. Again, I'm not.
It's embarrassing.
I'm not going to the restaurant to eat.
It's embarrassing how many times it has happened to me.
Yes.
That after a 13-course or a 15-course meal, I basically went and had a bite.
Change your mentality.
Yeah.
It's not a meal.
Yeah.
It's theater.
Correct.
It's theater. I'm going to this place to see how the chef, which is the artist, manipulate food and ingredients and see what he can do with it. They take something as simple as a carrot and he'll turn it into a masterpiece. They'll take it, foam, do whatever. There's a million things they can do that I can't even think of.
Okay.
And then when he comes in and tells me this is a carrot, I'll be like, huh? So it's not, I'm not going to eat and enjoy the best carrot or the best dish or the best everything. No, it's theater. You're seeing what he can do.
Yeah, you're not going there for
a meal,
stomach full meal.
Exactly.
Correct.
It's just theater. You're going to see what he can do with food. So it's plating, presentation, the plates he used.
What kind of flavors can actually happen?
Exactly. You know, some people, they like this whole molecular gastronomy now. It's not for everyone.
Yeah.
But I think it's fascinating.
It is, for sure.
It's fascinating when they get you a little cloud that tastes like potato and then a marshmallow that tastes like an apple. And it's crazy what you can do with food. The food science is just, it's really crazy. And I find it fascinating. But would I ever apply it in my restaurants? No.
I think I tried something in molecular gastronomy, I don't know, 15 years back. And I remember, and in those days, YouTube was not that big.
Exactly.
Yeah, but I remember that I got so fascinated by the process of what happened here. I put something in my mouth and it burst into something completely different with taste that strong. And I was like, wow, I mean, unless this is absolutely chemical and synthetic, I really need to get to the bottom of this. That how did this happen? It's not. It's not.
Purely natural food ingredients.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And it's alarming, like the things they find out and discover. Like, you know, if you take from the extract from this fruit, you have a natural binder that will emulsify this and make this, you know, it's crazy. So that's how, I mean, it's a very different experience, dining versus your own restaurant, you know.
So, Chef, when you came back to Kuwait, how was the journey after that? What were the early years like?
There's a very big food group here called MMC, which owns Le Notre. And they have a very big catering company, and they have a good 15 outlets, 16 outlets. They're one of the top F&B groups in Kuwait. So when I moved back, I took some time off. I wanted to start my own restaurant, actually. And I was working with a group of friends to start my own restaurant. We had a nice idea. We started looking for locations, and then it just went downhill. It didn't work out, and I'm glad it didn't, because had we opened that restaurant, I knew.
But why do you say it didn't work out?
One of the partners was just, you know, he fell out of it. He's like, I don't want to do this anymore, and you guys can go ahead. And we couldn't find the right location. Many, many reasons. But it was a blessing, because we were not ready. This would have gone very south very quick. And I think the best thing to ever happen, because at the time, I thought I knew what I was doing. But you fast forward, now I look back and I said I had no idea what I was doing. Like the amount I learned in the past 10 years versus at that time. So
tell me some example of a thought where
the location was wrong, the idea was wrong, the food, the service, the running that place.
What were you trying to do in food?
I was going to open an Arabic taqueria.
Arabic taqueria?
Yes, a Kuwaiti taqueria, actually.
Really?
Yeah. So tacos, but in Kuwaiti flavors.
Yeah, I get that. You know? is that a thing?
It actually tastes great. I've made it many times. They taste amazing. But I knew nothing about the restaurant industry. Nothing. Suppliers, schedules, inventory, accounting, nothing. So if I was to open this business, I would have failed incredibly fast. So there was a company called MMC Catering, like I told you. I applied for a job there, and I was hired. I was the brand manager and the executive chef for a company called Meme Cafe.
Meme Cafe.
Meme Cafe. It was like a Mediterranean type of food. And I started there. And I worked there for 2 years until I met my partner, and we started Roto, which was the first restaurant.
Wasn't that, against that entire idea of leaving the job at Deloitte, that I don't want to work for somebody else?
Again, I need to build credentials, yeah? If I want to raise money, for example, to open a restaurant, and I was working at Deloitte at the time, or Equate, sorry. and I was a financial analyst. If I came to you and I told you, let's open a restaurant,
Yeah,
give me $100,000 and we'll
Won't
open a
happen.
restaurant. You'll look at me like, who are you?
Yeah.
So that's when I realized I have to build a name for myself to get someone to come invest with me. So I quit my job. I went to culinary school. I worked in Miami. I came back to Kuwait. I worked in one of the biggest companies. And I've worked everywhere in this industry, from bartending to bouncer to garde manger to service to cleaning to grill. I worked all sectors just so I can learn this industry.
How
From A
did
to
you get
Z.
a chance to work all sectors and
In Miami?
in Miami? Oh, okay, of
I
course.
worked different
In your-
jobs. I worked
sure.
at a nightclub.
Sure.
You know, I was a bouncer at a nightclub, just to see the service industry. And I worked all aspects, even for a few weeks, just to get an idea
Nice.
of this industry and how it works and what to do. And then I moved back. So I was well versed in the industry. I got a good job. I was in the right place at the right time. So I built a name. And that's when my partner came along and he invested in me. We opened Roto together
In 2018.
in 2018, yes. Well, that's when we met. You know, we opened 2 months before COVID. We opened December 2019, and then COVID happened in March.
Wow. Yeah. I actually don't know how was COVID, dealt with in Kuwait.
Kuwait was the longest country in the world in quarantine and shut down.
Oh, because rest of the Middle East was kind of open.
Opened up. Kuwait was the longest in the world.
Okay, I'll talk more about that. But so you started Roto in 2018, right?
We opened December 2019.
Oh, so you
I
started in
left my
20
job. We started in 2018. Finding a
started
location,
building the concept.
building on the concept, working, finding staff, branding, etc.
Got it. And you opened and COVID hit.
And we opened 3 months later. COVID.
How was that? What?
Fantastic. Yeah. You can't make this up. This is something. If I was to go back at the time, can you ever imagine the entire world shutting down?
Yeah, of course.
Never. In your wildest dreams, you will never ever expect or think of something like COVID. And not only did I open one restaurant, I opened two. I opened one in December and I opened one in January, which was Magma.
Wow.
And 2 months later, I closed both. And they were designed or engineered, let's say, to be dine-in concepts.
Damn. Even better.
And I had no packaging, no nothing. I went from 100% dine-in to 100% delivery overnight. And at the time, they didn't even allow deliveries. They had stopped us completely, shut down.
Early months.
Exactly. So, yeah, it was an adventure.
So how did you survive through that? And I mean, take me through, like, not the COVID part. I mean, I know that, COVID conversations have been overdone in the world, but from a business perspective,
Managing cash flow. We saved what little money we had, spread it out. We cut our employees. We took pay cuts. Our employees took pay cuts. And we told our employees, we're like, listen, we either all take a pay cut, even us, to survive, or you're all terminated and we all close down shop. So either we all try and survive, or nobody survives. And they're all on board. They know. I'm like, listen, you have shelter, you have food, because the amount of people that lost their jobs, that couldn't afford their rents, that had no money, had no food, was alarming. So I said, we're in this together. We fight together and we try to survive, or we close up shop and everybody goes home. So my staff was very, understanding. They all knew that this was a pandemic, And there was nights, they closed down entire areas in Kuwait. Nobody could leave and exit, like Mahbula. It was a complete lockdown. You cannot leave or enter this area. And I had around 15 staff members staying there. They left and they slept in the office for 3 days. And we turned our office into bedrooms. There was mattresses on the floor, people sleeping on the floor, people sleeping on the couch. Just 3 days, just to stay and go to work in the next morning. Because if they went back home, they don't know when they can leave. And there's no access to food. There's no access to many things.
But how was it from a business perspective? Given that you started these two dine-in brands,
no business. We 20% of our sales a day.
correct? But you were still young brands, right? So you were saying that people basically started
We had
ordering online.
Ruby's was not a young brand. Ruby's was a very established It's been there again for 8 years at the time now. So it's a fan favorite in Kuwait. It's a very well-known brand. We have 6 locations. People love it. So that was good. And then we started trends, the car dining. We got on board with that. We had the trays. We bring the tray to your car. People will come out and dine in cars. So that helped a lot. That brought in some money. Delivery brought in some money. We started a brand called Little Deli, which was, the cook at home. So I looked at my partner and like, listen, if we can't sell our food, we sell the raw ingredients. So we started to make a box. We package your food with instructions, and we send you the box.
Like daily style meats.
DIY. Yeah, not everything. Pasta. We'll send you the sauce. We'll send you the pasta. We'll send you the cheese. We'll send you the garnish with an instruction card how to cook the pasta. And this is the pink pasta that you love to eat. We gave you the recipe. Here, cook it at home. We started to make frozen pizzas that you just have to bake it, reheat.
Yeah.
So we started this whole cook at home trend. And then I had friends that would start to. So I started on my Instagram. I'd cook a new recipe every night, and I'd show you what you can do with these ingredients and what you can cook with these ingredients. So people started to watch and cook and try and do. So many things,
I think it's amazing, how creative world got during COVID. And I think the only analogy, which is very disturbing, although, but from a scientific standpoint or from a progress standpoint, still holds, which is if you see most of the science and technology, whether it's space, defense, communication, all of that actually happened through World War I and World War II.
Sure.
And post that, nothing happened. Like the progress has been incremental. Leap shifts haven't happened. And COVID became like another, such thing. So it's very, it's disturbing because, at times when I think about it, I'm like, damn, am I saying, okay, world has to be in danger to progress? But it seems like the answer is yes.
I mean, it's survival sparks something in you.
No, but in the restaurant space, I saw so many brands, as you said, right? You opened 2 concepts which were not designed for delivery. They were dine-in experiential, places. So many brands in the world, so many chefs in the world who basically always looked down upon delivery as a concept pre-COVID.
Listen,
Compulsion brought something very different, but interestingly, none of them, and I know none, who stopped deliveries after COVID. And for me, that was a bigger thing. I can understand that you do everything for survival, but I think the fact that you discovered that, hey, I was wrong. This is not only viable, this is great.
Correct. To an extent. For example, Young Po, I don't deliver. And I won't deliver. It's a dining experience. At the end of the day, food is not just... When you eat at home, it's for survival, I think. It's for comfort. It's for ease. It's not an adventure. It's not exciting. It's just, you're sitting at home with your wife. What do you want to eat? You want to make dinner? No? Okay, let's order a burger. Let's order anything. Chinese,
True.
A salad. It's convenience. But for me, it's not an experience. And dining out is the experience. I like the experience of dining out. I like to go over in a new place. I look at the decor. I look at the plates. I look at the experience from the door. Am I being greeted? Do I seat myself? Where's the host from? What are they wearing? The uniforms. I pay attention to all of these things, and they're seated at the table. They give you the menus. I like to sit and read the menu. Reading a menu, that 10 minutes is a whole different adventure.
How much you hate QR code menus?
I hate them. I don't have it.
+1.
I don't have it in Young Po. I refuse.
I ask for and I run a restaurant tech company, but I hate QR menus.
Exactly.
I always ask for physical menus everywhere. Yesterday evening as well,
I hate them. I hate pictures in menus.
I don't mind actually pictures in menus.
No, because it spoils.
But I don't look for them.
It spoils the look.
But I love explanation. See, I think when you don't have explanation, then I would not mind a picture. But I love explanations, honestly.
Yes, but look, the whole experience starts from reading the menu. It builds excitement when you come and you read. Wasabi cauliflower or whatever. It's something that will pique your. What is this? The name excited me. that gets endorphins and things starting in your brain. You start getting excited. And then you read the description and you get even more excited. 6-hour braised, all these keywords they use to get you excited. And that can tell a completely different story than a picture. The picture might not represent the actual taste of the dish. And that excitement process is what I like to. I like to open the menu, see how it's designed, how many items in the menu, and I start to read. And I read item. Oh, I want this. Oh, I want this. Oh, I want this. Let's get this. Let's get this. It starts the discussion. What do you want? You want to share this? Okay, we'll share this. You know, everybody gets excited for the meal. You don't get that at home. So that's where I'm telling you, the dining out is a whole different experience. And then the food comes, you eat with your eyes first. Or sometimes, you're in the restaurant, you look over there. Oh, what did he order?
Yeah.
Because you saw it. I want that. You don't know what it is. But you saw it, and something piqued your interest.
Correct.
You don't get this at home. And people, and how they're dressed, and who's there, and what are they wearing, and you're looking around the restaurant, who's with who's there, This whole experience, you don't get that at home. So that's why I think dine-in business will always remain. I don't think this is a business that will ever be replaced with technology. How many tech companies come and try to have ordering process? Okay, if I give you a QR code of my menu and you come and you read, you're going to see, okay, I'll have spring rolls, Mongolian beef, and that's it. But if I come to your table, now there's a human element involved. Greetings, sir. How are you? Good. Welcome to the restaurant. What can I get you? Have you looked at the menu? Sure, I looked at the menu. I want the spring rolls and the Mongolian beef. Sure, you have to try the prawn on toast. You have to try the prawn on toast. If you don't get it, trust me, you will love it. It's the best thing on the menu. How can you upsell a computer or a machine or a QR code or a robot or whatever it is? Cannot upsell.
I mean, honestly, tech companies like us will say, yes, we can.
Yeah, you find little tools where you put a discount.
No, I hear you. But I hear you. I think there's
a human element to service.
Nothing beats that.
That will never go away.
But how do you train those humans? I think I'll tell you one observation that I have, and I'm saying this. Yeah, I've been a restaurateur myself before tech, so I have empathy for operators. But at the same time, one thing that I've observed is that in certain parts of the world where I never thought self-ordering, will pick up, because those were labor surplus countries. Middle East is labor surplus. India, a lot of Asia is all labor surplus. So I thought self-ordering will never pick up here from a business standpoint. And, Europe and US, UK, etc. have lack of people. Probably it'll... Interestingly, post-COVID, I'll tell you a stat. We are selling self-ordering of all types and kinds, QR code, kiosks, website, mobile apps, etc. in equal proportion in both sides. And I got really shocked when labor surplus countries started ordering that. And I was like, why are you guys ordering? Like you have a lot of people. And I realized something disturbing where, people said, well, we have people. That's not the problem. Problem is who will train those people and how do you keep up that training? So we have figured that because we have not been able to, train a human to continuously intervene, ask and do it, at the right spot correctly, we would rather have a machine do it, and machine is doing better for us. And I got shocked because, I didn't read that before. I should have. So back to your point, how do you bring that element where, server can actually command or ask or tell me that, hey, you should order this?
You either have it or you don't. It's charisma. I can't teach charisma.
But how do you scale charisma? You can't scale charisma.
I can't teach charisma. So I have waiters that are like robots. They're going, taking the order. But these guys are making the same mistakes every time. They're always ignoring customers. When I receive a complaint, it's from this guy. I know. But I have guys that are, it's charisma. When you come to the table, am I smiling? Am I laughing? Do I introduce myself? Do I greet you? It's a big difference. How are you, sir? Welcome back. Good to see you again. And I remember you came last time. Last time you had the short rib. Try the Mongolian beef this time.
Yeah, that can just sweep customer off their feet.
Wow. You remembered what I had. You remembered me.
Yeah.
It makes me feel important. It makes me feel special. So it's charisma. I'm smiling. I know how to talk to you. I'm not shy. And in labor-intensive countries, like you said, labor or people in the service industry tend to be shy
Yeah.
and tend to be afraid of diners, or they tend to not be themselves.
They have never learned to
There's
express.
always that block where, he's maybe, I'm a server, he's a guest, and
Yeah.
and you see it in India a lot, and you see it in the Middle East a lot.
Yeah,
Some
a lot.
people, they don't, and they might look down at them in some places, and they don't speak to them with the same level of respect. But if you change that around and you have charisma and you talk to them, like, again, we're all the same.
US does it best.
Exactly. They'll look at you differently.
Yeah.
And there's different drivers. So in this part of the world, labor is cheap. I can get a server for $500 a month. In the States, you can't get anything for that. And not just that. Now, what the States does, I'm completely against this, but end of the day, this is, I think, proves to work. When you look at service in the States versus service in Europe, in the States is so much better. Why?
As compared.
Yeah. Why is it better? Because their wage is dependent on tips.
Correct.
Your tips are dependent on what? On your
Experience.
level of service.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you're a good server and you give me a good serve, you make more. So that biologically just trained you to become a nicer person, to become a better server. If you remove that element, so if your wage is completely tip-based, you're going to be a superstar. And that's why in the US, I know some restaurants, they have 2 guys that can manage an entire floor, where here, 10 people can't manage.
Not some. I mean, so many years. Most of the restaurants, and I mean, people
2
are
or
like
3
absolute ninjas.
What 2-3 guys can handle, the 10 people here couldn't handle. And I do that here. Like when I work floor a lot, more than kitchen, because it's important for me to be seen on the floor. When I work floor, I'm better than 4 guys combined. It's because it's like a game of chess. I have to plan ahead. These tables just sat. He has to order. He getting his food. Greet him. Say hello to them. Take their order. Come back. Deliver here. Come here. I'm expecting what he's gonna order next. Ready for dessert. Clean. I have a plan in my head of what's happening. The other guys, I look at them. They're just running back and forth. You know what I mean? So it's a game plan. It's strategy. It's timing. It's a game of chess. You really have to know how to manage the floor. And there's a science behind it. So you either have it or you don't.
Almost feels like that you miss doing it full time.
And I don't do it full time, but I still do it enough.
You do it enough?
I do it once, twice a week. Yeah.
That is awesome, actually. That's quite amazing.
No,
so do you have regular customers who know you?
Of course. I mean, all my customers. But I'm in the restaurant once, twice a week. And I serve, and I'm on the floor, and I'm going, greeting guests. Again, the human element. If you know this restaurant is by a Kuwaiti chef and you don't see him, what's the point? But if you go to the restaurant and you see the Kuwaiti chef, oh, it's Chef Khaled. Oh, can I take a picture? Can I? Hey, can you call our server? Take the order. It's fine. I'll take the order. Really? Yeah. What's your order? I recommend this. Take that. Trust me. If you don't like this.
Do you see that power equation shifting in that moment where
Absolutely.
Your patron is like hesitant in giving you the order?
Absolutely. I clean most of the tables.
I love
When
that.
I bust tables, they look at me. They're like, "Why are you busting the tables?" And my staff will stop whatever they're doing and they'll come to bust the table. And I look at them like, "Go back to your table. Finish your work. I am free. I will bust the table. Go back. You have more important things to do." Or in the kitchen. In the kitchen, I'll grab them up and I'll mop the floor. And then they'll all stop and I'm like, "You're in the middle of cooking a dish for a customer. Go back to the grill. You go back to the dish pit. I'm free. I'll mop the floor.
That is such a strong.
I don't care."
That is such a strong way to.
Yeah, and when they see you, lead by example. It sets the tone. Okay. I'm not the owner. I'm not the boss. When we are on the floor, we all have the same goal.
I think owner figures. What you're making is a very strong point, because owner figures, as in are also, I don't know, painted differently. The fact is that if responsibility or the load on your shoulders has any connection to how much will you do on the floor, then owner should be the one who should be doing the maximum, right? Because buck stops at you at the end of the day.
Listen,
While
every restaurant in the world is run by who? You see the owner there. The wife's in the husband's in the kitchen, the wife is on the floor.
yeah,
It's a family business, you
yeah,
know.
yeah,
But in this part of the world, again, like you said, we are lucky to have labor.
correct.
I can afford to hire someone and let them do the work. In the US, you can't afford. You know, labor is much more expensive. Or in the UK or in Europe, labor is much more expensive. I can't afford to have 3 waiters and 3 servers and a barman and a barista and a busser and a runner. I won't make money. That's why I have to be on the floor. I'm running the table. So if you go to Europe, you'll always see the owner going around, talking to the tables, taking the orders, doing everything. That's how you survive. You don't have the luxury of staff. So unfortunately here, I have the luxury of staff and I have a huge team. But at the same time, I like to lead by example.
Khaled, what has changed in you as a person? Because, you know, one, Khaled is a finance guy
Yes.
versus Khaled in the kitchen, and then 10 years in kitchen. So I would slice it in 3 parts. Do you have do you introspect and see what changed in you as a person?
Not much, to be honest. I'm the same guy. I've been.
I mean, finance guys don't really yell in the kitchen, so
No, I never yelled in the. I was yelled at in the kitchen, but I don't yell in the kitchen. I joke around. I'm always joking in the kitchen, and that hasn't changed. That's how I am. How I am in the kitchen is the same how I am everywhere. You know, I don't like to. I don't need the element of fear. You know, I don't need you to fear me. I need you to respect me. So I never was, oh, I'm going to do this, or I'm shouting in the kitchen. No, if you mess up in the kitchen, you'll know when I'm mad. You know, sometimes, yeah, I do get mad, and I'm like, listen, you're doing this wrong, you're effing this up, you're doing that. No, get your thing act together. But it's not like every day, you know, Gordon Ramsay, hey, stupid, what are you doing? No, I haven't really changed from day one till now. I lost, look, from day one till today. Before I left Miami, my chef said, do you have any words of advice? Do you have anything you need to, like, what can you share? He said, lose your ego. And that stuck with me from day one till now. I don't have an ego. You can say what you want about me. You can do what you want about me. I don't care. My goal is to make my customers happy, make a living for myself, and better the industry for my country. So these are my goals, and that's what I'm focused on. So whatever happens in between, I don't care. I'm here to help. I have no secrets. I'm an open book. You need anything, I'll give it to you. You need a supplier, you need a recipe, you need help on this, I'll help you. Nothing's above me, nothing's below me. So
that's very powerful what you're saying, right? Because you're precisely saying that you're not offendable. And if you're not offendable, then you know nobody else controls you.
Exactly.
But what was the process of evolution to this? I'm sure there was a point where some things.
No, I take it as it goes. You know, I became a chef. Okay, what do I do now? Start a restaurant. All right, started a restaurant. What's next? COVID. Do I quit the restaurant business and go find a job? I know, I opened 6 more restaurants in COVID. So me and my partner looked at each other. While everybody was closing shop, we doubled down. We took 3 more locations during COVID. We got an investor and we said, listen, because COVID created opportunities. So what used to cost, for example, $1 million in avenues, I got for free in key money. I took 3-4 locations on very cheap versus what they would have cost me pre-COVID. So it opened a lot of doors. And then once we reopened from COVID, we made a lot of money. You know, our bet worked. Things started to settle down. Okay, what's next? Change the concept. You know, have an outlet in avenues, stop performing. Close. You know, there is no right or wrong answer in this business. You just have to adapt to what's happening. So there was no turning point. It was, I'm on a journey. Whatever happens along the way, you try to self-right the ship, you know. COVID happened, okay, what do we do? Boom, 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 boom. We closed, we did. We opened new outlets. We're going again. After COVID, there was a huge spike in business. Everybody had money, everybody was going. What do we do? Open more. We took 2 more locations. We went from 3 locations to 11 during COVID after those 2 years. Now, I'm back down to 7 or 8. I'm scaling now. I'm closing. I'm flipping. The market's not the same. What do? I have to adapt.
How's Kuwait as a market for? I mean, I see a ton of American, European brands here, and I see a lot of young Kuwaiti brands such as yours, relatively young and more coming. How's the market? Is the market really differentiating between Kuwaiti homegrown brands versus foreign brands? And is there a favoritism, or is there an inclination, or is it
Absolutely. Kuwait was very much a franchise-based country. All our restaurants were franchises from outside. There was very few locally grown concepts. But that all shifted between 2010, let's say, to 15. Today, it's, I would say, mostly homegrown concepts. Mostly.
Oh, wow.
And the homegrown concepts are actually outperforming all of the franchises, in all sectors. Coffee, some of them are homegrown in terms of fast casual, in terms of your picks, and like, what's the one, the Pret a Manger.
Correct.
You have local brands that Pret cannot even begin to compete with, like Pick and Anas. And these brands can compete globally now. We have actually set Kuwaitis are they're big innovators, and they're very creative, and they're great at producing concepts, whether it's in all aspects. So, for example, Talabat's a Kuwaiti company.
Yep.
It was made in Kuwait, grown and sold. So now Talabat is on par with Deliveroo globally. This is a UK company. So one of the biggest companies in the world in terms of food delivery is Talabat, and they're all over the Middle East. That started in Kuwait. A lot of these companies, whether in tech, whether in coffee, whether in burgers, fast food, fine dining now, are Kuwaiti. 2 of the busiest restaurants are like one Chinese, one Italian, compared to the franchise Chinese or franchise Italian. The local ones are doing better, and they are just as good an experience, if not better, than the franchise. So we've actually gotten better at producing ourselves than the franchises. And if you look at that same model, now it's starting to reflect in Saudi and in Dubai. Dubai, you think, is a better food scene than Kuwait, but Dubai was all franchises.
Yeah.
Every restaurant in Dubai, whether it was a fast casual, it was a franchise. Now, in the past, let's say 3-4 years in Dubai, you started to see the shift. Orfali started to open his own concepts. You have Chef Akmal opened, Three Fills, Goldfish. These are all
Correct.
local concepts,
Yep.
chef-driven concepts that you didn't have before in Dubai. They were all franchises. DIFC is all franchises. Maybe 1 or 2 restaurants now started to become like Chef Izu, Ani,
Yep.
Maison Ani. These are all chef-driven. That didn't exist before in Dubai.
Gaia and
These are all Izu. Izu was the only one at the time.
Yeah.
But now, you have Orfali, you have Akmal, you have Solomon from Moonrise, you have Hatem Matar, you have all these guys coming up with what made now the local Dubai food scene. This didn't exist before. So Kuwait is actually way ahead of Dubai in that scene. So,
And do patrons care?
of course, why? So they all look for it's a Kuwaiti restaurant, Kuwaiti concept, Kuwaiti chef. We go there. And that became the norm. It became the norm that we no longer know if it's Kuwaiti or not. We assume everything is Kuwaiti.
No, I mean, that's a big deal, because I see that as not many markets actually can say that, right? For example, Dubai, at the end of the day, doesn't care.
Exactly.
I mean, patrons don't care. They want a great experience. They want a good restaurant. They want a new
Because
thing.
the patrons are not local.
Correct.
So we don't care if it's local or not. For us, supporting local is huge. My coffee is from where? It's not from Starbucks or Nestle it's from 48 East, a local coffee shop. If you buy bread, you don't buy from an international bakery. You buy from a local bakery. KDD, or use KDD for Kuwait for all our dairy, or Al Marai. Al Marai is Saudi, but we use KD cow. We use, the bakery. We have Kuwait flour mills. We love this brand. We use it in everything. All our breads, everything comes from our flour. Everything comes from Kuwait Flour Mills, which is a Kuwaiti company. So we all support from the back end to what the customer receives are all Kuwaiti brands. And that's very important for us.
How's this? The Kuwaiti market is, of what I have experienced through some of the brands that we work with here, is a very high consumption market. I don't think I've seen a higher per capita consumption anywhere else in the world so far. Like I remember, we started working with Caribou Coffee here, and the early numbers that we heard from them, and I was like, doesn't add up. Like, what's happening here?
It's
exactly. How many people are drinking coffee, and how much are they drinking coffee? What's, if you had to tell the world, and think about somebody who doesn't know about Kuwait, if they are watching this, how will you explain what's the consumption here per capita at a population level? Like, how do you explain that? How many people go out? How many times do they eat?
They go out every day, some people. They order out every day. Kuwait does more deliveries than the entire city of London. I think than the entire country of Germany, when I was looking at stats in terms of number of deliveries.
Really?
Per capita, Kuwait has one of the highest number of deliveries in the world. Dining out. You go to Doha, you go to Saudi, you'll see entire restaurants empty. In Kuwait, no, the market is very tough, but it's still, I think, one of the highest performing markets in the Middle East. Dubai is based on tourists, but go to Abu Dhabi or go to Sharjah and look at the food scene there. And the locals, the behavior is completely different. Kuwaitis, we like to go out, and we're out every other day. They like to go out. You have some people 4 or 5 nights a week. My mother goes out to eat 5, 6 nights a week.
Your mother?
My mother. So it's part of their culture here. We like to go out. We like to experience, and we like to spend, and we like to share, and we like to experience. When I went to Saudi, if me and you went out to lunch in Saudi, it's very much like okay, I'll have an appetizer, you'll have an appetizer, and we'll have one meal, and we'll leave. In Kuwait, no, it's like, what do you want to eat? We have 4 appetizers, 2 mains, and we share everything. They don't have that concept in the rest of the GCC as much as...
Really?
Yeah, they don't share. It's not a sharing concept as much as we are here. We like to order. Like, you got a pasta, I got a burger in Saudi. Done. Here, no, we get salad, pasta, an appetizer, and then you get the burger and I'll get my burger. We share everything. So it's still one of the strongest markets, I think, in the GCC, and one of the still fastest growing markets. We have more restaurants, I think, than per capita. We have one of the highest in the world.
But where is that growth coming from? And I'm just wondering because, Dubai, I know population is increasing. Saudi, I know they're trying to, increase their population with all the new initiatives. Kuwait, I'm not very sure if the population, like, where's the growth in the market? Is it more money or is it more people?
There is money. There is money in the market. It's not more people, no. It's not a big growth in people. It's always been a strong market. It's shifting. It's a lot more competitive now. It's very more difficult, but that also keeps you on your feet. You have to keep innovating. You have to keep creating new. You have to keep changing, keep adapting. I need 10 outlets to survive, not 3. Or I can do my own mom and pop shop. It's just a very difficult market. And then social media and trends and getting all of that. So you have to be on top of your feet, on top of your game, on everything. Constant marketing, constant photo shoots, campaigns, podcasts, videos, events, dinners, collaborations. That's how you keep the growth. But it's temporary, Last year I did a pop-up, did very well. This year, if I do the same pop-up, it might fail. So I must do something else. It's that constant creating new. You had the group Melanzani. They did a whole pop-up called Melanzani by the Sea. And you're talking at least, I think they spent at least 3, 4, or 5 million on this concept. And it's a pop-up. It's amazing. But they did that for 1 year, 2nd year, 3rd year, 4th year, 5th year, empty, closed. What are they going to do now? Pop-up, but another brand. Create something else, create something new, So people have to constantly keep creating, and that's how you keep the market alive. But I don't think it's a growing market. I just think it's a changing one. Constantly.
Tell me a bit about your personal side.
Married, 2-year-old, very easygoing. I like to spend time with my family, spend time with friends, very social. I go out a lot. I like
But
to
restaurateurs become, you know, available
balance.
at
Balance,
the
balance.
wrong most times, right? So
Balance. I create a balance for myself. Where I might be busy 3 nights or 4 nights a week, I'll free up those nights and spend time with family. I might be busy in the mornings. I'll clear out 1 or 2 mornings to spend time with my son, my wife. I spend, let's say, 3 nights working. I'll make sure those 3 nights I'm out and about and I'm social and I'm with friends and I'm with family. So it's just a balance of your schedule, and you create time for everybody in your life.
yeah, because restaurant industry can actually just
Absolutely. I mean,
know.
I can live in the restaurant and spend every day there. But if I don't create time for myself, again, being here, I'm fortunate enough, and in my company, I'm fortunate to have this balance. Some people, they eat, sleep, and drink in the restaurant. And
What do you do? What do you do to keep yourself enriched? How do you learn? What's your learning system?
YouTube, I read, Instagram, research. I spend a lot of time just watching, reading, trying
What are
to
you
get
researching? Like, are these like random rabbit holes or
random rabbit holes versus actual research. What's next? I'm always thinking about what am I going to do next.
give me an example of like how will you research on what's next?
So travel, I was saying, for example, if I went to Dubai and I found a restaurant I fell in love with, or I fell in love with a dish, I thought it was genius. I'll come back to Kuwait, research, read, check, YouTube, recipes, R&D, give the staff, train, check, until I get to that dish. It could be a movie, watching a movie, and something comes up. I say, oh, pause, I like this dish. I like to go out to eat a lot because that's where I learn a lot. When I walk into a restaurant, I come and I check the plates. What's the brand? I take a picture. I take a lot of pictures. I post a lot on Instagram and I see reactions to people if they like this dish or not. Or I'll save it for later. It's non-stop. Anywhere I can get any source of inspiration, I note it down and I come back to it.
I think travel is extremely important if you're really building concepts, for people. But you said you also read. What are you reading?
Magazines, articles, newspaper articles. I'll get on cookbooks. I read a lot of cookbooks, hard copies. I buy a lot of hard copy cookbooks. I don't like to, just get online and read a recipe. Many things. Anytime I can find. When I travel a lot in the airplane, sometimes you have the guidebook. I take that and I read it. And it tells you restaurants because those are very localized. Like when I went to the Philippines, there was a magazine in the airplane. I took that and read that magazine, and that gave me 3-4 of the best restaurants to go to, where to stay, what to visit, what to do. So I crossed ChatGPT, creates entire itineraries for me now, creates dishes for me now, does many things. So it's just a little from here, a little from here, a little from here until I build something solid.
What will you tell a young restaurateur or an aspiring restaurateur who comes to you today and is willing to start, has money to invest? Because a lot of people in the restaurant world jump in for wrong reasons, and they only realize it, after burning their money
It's
and hands.
not a financially rewarding industry. It can be, but in general, it's not.
Then why should we do
Most people don't do good. I would actually suggest most people not to get into this industry. But if you have the passion and you insist on it, you have to have thick skin. You have to have a proper business plan. It's ups and downs. And a lot of people, like you said, they don't have the right market study. They don't have a proper financial study. Your business plan is very important. Some people just come and open. Why did you open? Oh, I heard it will make money. Okay, but where are you buying your ingredients? Are you monitoring your cash flow? Cash flow, I think, is maintaining and monitoring your cash flow is the most important thing in this business. You can be profitable, but you have zero cash, you'll start to burn, So just really research and do a proper study on if you want to enter this business. And sit down and reach. If somebody reach out to me, I'll sit down and I'll go through their study and I'll help them. And I'll tell them if they're doing something wrong, or if it's right, or what to add in the menu, or if this doesn't sell. There's many people like me that you can talk to that can guide you.
When you say that it's not financially rewarding, why, then what's the point?
Passion. I know friends that they make their own schedule, they work 3 nights a week, and they serve a very niche product, and they're happy. They're not after.
But restaurants, and I'm double clicking on it because that's exactly what I think certain industries are like honey traps. Restaurant is definitely one of them. It's a honey trap. It looks very, very glamorous from outside. It looks very cool, and it guzzles a lot of money. So it's a full money guzzling engine. Now, passion like learning guitar doesn't cost a lot of money.
Yes.
Right, but passion like restaurant, if you just call it passion, and if you call it not financially rewarding, then it's confusing because it is a high investment, plan.
Again, there's many paths you can take in this industry. I mean, I know Instagram chefs that are making more money than I can ever imagine, and they barely know how to cook. Why? Because they have 1 million followers, but they barely know how to hold a knife. But that's route worked for him. Content creation. It can be very financially rewarding. I tried that route. I failed. It's because I found out it's a skill I don't have. Food photography. I have a friend of mine. She makes $2,000-3,000 a day shooting food. I can do that. No, I can't. But there's many routes you can take. Food photography, food styling, podcasting, YouTube, content creation, recipe development, consulting. My friend of mine, he doesn't own a restaurant, but he became a very popular consultant chef, and he charges a premium, and he takes 3 clients a month or 2 clients a month.
But you're telling me all the ways of making money from restaurateurs. How does the restaurateur make money?
It depends. Depends on the restaurant. There's a lot of luck involved, a lot of timing involved. Sometimes you do something at the right time, you become very successful.
If you don't mind sharing, what was your most successful restaurant? Not the name, but how much did you make on it? Means how quickly were you able to get your payback on the investment and
I couldn't tell you because I always reinvested. We never took money out of the business. So at the end of the day, I'm a salaried employee. We never took money out of the business. We have a vision where we want to reach. So we keep investing that money in them. Some of the restaurants have made 100 times back what we invested initially. Ruby's downtown has more than made enough for that outlet. But we never took anything out of it. It's always reinvesting. Like now, I have 2 pop-ups this year. I'm opening a new concept. I'm opening another concept I'm working on. I have a breakfast menu I'm developing. So it's just all that money we make is going back into the business because we have a vision of where we want to be in 2, 3, 4, 5 years. It's not just one restaurant. We want an empire.
What is one company or one brand that you admire, that you aspire to be? Globally, Kuwaiti, Middle Eastern?
Locally. There's a company called Lab 100. And they create some of the most amazing concepts.
Lab 100.
Yeah, so they have ananas, they have manna, they have ubon, they have, what's it called? I forgot the name. But they're brilliant. Cardamom Club. So when they do a concept, I think they do it right. I mean, the attention to detail they pay in their brands is amazing. And it reflects in their customers and their sales and their experience. These guys, I think, and there's also like Basil Salam. He owns Gastronomica.
Yep. Legend.
Exactly. Legend. There's no better way to describe him. These are people I look up to, and I don't need to go outside. These are all local. And there's many. I can give you a whole list.
Chef Khaled, this was a fabulous conversation, and I think
thank you for having me.
Congratulations on a great journey. I can see
Still on the journey.
Still on the journey, but great journey so far. I think very, very. I feel that you're not only a clear thinker, you also own a lot of what happens around your life, and that's very, very empowering to listen to. So I'm sure people who are listening to this are going to get a lot of perspective.
I can tell a cool story, and that's why I can tell a good story. of my life.
We to tell a good story, we need to have a good story.
Exactly.
So
I'm fortunate for that.
fantastic.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
I appreciate the time and thank you for having me.